Leave comments. Let me know what's going on. We're coming at it. Rebels against slavery. American slave revolts. It's gonna get real. This one, huh? It's gonna get graphic. Fair warning. But we must talk about it. Patrick C. McKessick, Frederick L. McKessick. McKessack. Check it out. Rebel, you coming. He shot the one of the most known. Sure. Author's note. It says, to property with no more rights than livestock and free blacks, northerners and southerners, whites and Native Americans who became rebels against that system. For a long while, history dismissed these people as dangerous lunatics and murderers who, driven to a madness where drastic action seemed to be the only available course of forms of human oppression, very often without the slightest chance of ultimate success. Their rebellious acts, however, served as a constant reminder of the moral and political dangers of slavery. As rebels for a righteous cause, they should be remembered for the terrible risk they had, for the terrible risk they knowingly took, the extraordinary determination that they displayed, and the important role that they played in the abolition of slavery. We would like to thank all of those who helped us complete this project. Our research has taken us from the Caribbean to New England, from Florida to New York, and from the Everglades to Harper's Ferry. We owe a debt of gratitude to all the people who helped us during our visits to historical societies, museums, storehouses, universities, and libraries. We would like to thank our family, especially Moses, Jules, McKessack, who helped us whose help can't be measured. As always, a special thanks to our editor, Ann Reed. This is the introduction. It says, slavery is as old as recorded history, and so are slave rebellions. Whenever and wherever slavery has existed, there has always been resistance to it, ranging from individual acts of defiance to well-organized armed revolts. One historian summarized it as more simply as, quote, the cause of slave revolts is slavery, end quote. Support for that idea can be found all physical mutilation, and armed rebellion to free themselves from the tyranny of slavery. For centuries, the stories of Moses and the Hebrews of ancient Egypt and Spartacus, who led a slave army of Rome, have served as an inspiration to shorter route to India, stumble on a Caribbean island, which he named San Salvador. Slavery was not an institution, and rebellions were not a new response to it. When the Americas were open for European colonization in the 16th century, slavery came with it. After taking hold in the Caribbean islands, slavery spread to the North America early in the 17th century. Conspiracies and uprisings surfaced almost immediately. On July 26, 1740, the Southern Carolina Assembly, then another projected in Charlestown, a third lately in the very heart of the settlements, but happily discovered in time enough to be prevented. Resistance on December 18, 1865, officially ended slavery on the North American continent. Slavery in Cuba, Haiti, and bondage was accepted as true. No, sir. However, a large body of historical data gives us a more accurate picture today. On the huge Caribbean in South America sugarcane plantations, slaveholders lived in constant fear of insurrection, and with good reason. First planters were usually outnumbered by their slaves, and according to historian Eugene D. Genovese, author of Roll, Jordan Roll, and other works about slavery, quote, no people in world history rose in revolt so often or in such numbers or with so large a measure of success than the slaves of the Americas. Caribbean and South American slaves rose more often and in larger numbers than those in North America. But rebels of the Old South, such as Cato, reputed leader of the no less courage or conviction. Actually, slave holders panicked at the mere mention of a plot or conspiracy, real or imagined. This little picture right there, the slaves working on the plantation, the sugarcane plantation. Mm-hmm. And local and state officials overreacted by trying to suppress all evidence that there had ever been one. It was generally believed that, though seldom discussed among whites, that most slaves didn't have the nerve to lead a rebellion, but if one was started, they would have no problem joining it. In public, people were forbidden to speak the name of the rebel or revolt he or she led. One 18th century Virginia plantation owner, referring to Nat Turner's revolt in 1831, wrote in his diary, quote, "There was an uprising in Southampton, but I dare not speak of it," end quote. Authorities almost always inflated the numbers of people involved in the conspiracy and insisted upon swift and severe punishment, which sometimes meant many innocent people died. Suspects were rounded up quickly, tried, found guilty, and publicly executed based upon the flimsiest of evidence. In reality, most pre-Civil War revolts were local and involved small numbers of people. After the authorities had suppressed the rebel movement, the immediate danger had passed. Slaveholders pushed for the passage of harsh slave laws, limiting the movement of slaves and terminating what few privileges they did have. Following the Stanto Rebellion in South Carolina on September 9th, 1739, which is much larger, much too large to be kept quiet. South Carolina, followed by North Carolina and Virginia, passed a law. Excuse me, y'all. Let me take a drink. Get a little parched here. South Carolina, followed by North Carolina and Virginia, passed a law forbidding blacks to make or have in their possession a drum because it was considered as an instrument of rebellion. Excuse me. African drum. I apologize, y'all. I have a little fit here with this real quick. It says African drummers could talk to each other over great distances. During the 18th century, the revolutions that took place in France and America set before the world the revolution concept that liberty and equality were the rights of all men, not just a few privileged few. Not just a privileged few. These ideas were inherently dangerous in slaveholding societies. Motivated by such ideas, Toussaint Louverture led a slave revolution that began in 1791 on the French colony of Saint Dominique, and ended with the abolition of slavery. There, and the formation of Haiti, the first black nation in the Western Hemisphere. Toussaint Louverture. Y'all know about it. Check out that song. I think we're going to end right there, though. We're going to come back. Rebels Against Slavery. Just getting into it. First chapter. It's only the introduction. Check it out for yourself. Take my word from it. Just sharing this information. All black everything. You know, we do it. Like it, share, subscribe it, put them thumbs up. Appreciate you for checking us out. And we out. Be back soon. Get him shot out. Hey.